Hello guys, another video. Um, so I have a lot of things again to talk about. Actually today I like a lot my eyebrows and everything, kind of. But I guess I have to talk about a little bit difficult stuff once again. So we had these days the Trump's assassination attempt, the beautiful Olympics ceremony. I think I'm doing this 2 days after, which I didn't see when it was happening, but later you think like, oh, thank God. And there are wars all around. It feels to me like it's becoming more and more and more wars. Zakharova is offering asylum to whoever was traumatized from that ceremony. And I'm thinking, I feel a little bit exhibitionistically harassed looking at it from the internet. So I would like also asylum. And it's like lately I've been thinking that maybe I should start learning Russian, ask for forgiveness, because I have to admit that at first I had done a video then, actually. It's 2 years and a half now. How much is it? For the Ukraine-Russia war. And in general, I was thinking that probably between Ukraine and Russia, probably Ukraine had more freedom of speech and democracy. I don't know. At the end of the story, And I was thinking like, so what now? Every country that has some minority in another country should attack the border? At least the official border? Because there are some kind of other borders, like in Cyprus, maybe that Ukraine-Russia borders with Crimea and whatever everybody feels like annexing every time. Or I don't know if this is the word, like attack and take it temporarily, but then not everybody recognizes it. Or I think there are some strange borders between India and Pakistan. So I mean, yeah, anyway, there is an official border for sure. And probably we have kind of a similar situation there in Cyprus, where I'm not very good at history. I should be better, I guess. But it's like, yeah, what's gonna be happening? Because also Greece has minorities here and there. But if there is an official border, and then every once in a while, minorities are going to be attacked inside countries. So what should the country where they belong to attack, invade the official border? But then, okay, in Ukraine, Russia, I think there are some other agreements that Ukraine should not have military. But also this is kind of a problematic thing, because when two countries want like a gray zone without military, like where does this zone belong? Like, and if there is an official border, shouldn't there be such a zone in both countries? Like the same kilometers at both sides of the border, these places do not have military. Probably I'm talking nonsense here. Because I don't know, probably if Ukraine was decided to be such a place, like what should happen then? Because I think there are some issues also with the Greek islands. But the problem is that every time you have such a place, maybe we should stop having such agreements, like places with no military, because there's gonna be a population there that will need the defense, and every now and then some extremist other minority groups are going to attack the population that is not supposed to have defense. It's like, it feels like such agreements are so easy to be broken, not followed, and then they create a permanent excuse for war, probably. And then there are agreements about, like, to maintain peace. There are agreements that certain minorities are not allowed. I think that there is such an agreement for Greece and Turkey. There was an exchange of populations some time back. But I think this agreement allows a Greek minority in Turkey, but allows only a Muslim, not Turkish, minority in Greece. And then it becomes a question, in order to maintain peace, how much these minorities are allowed to grow, like what percentage should they be in order to maintain peace, because that was the initial reason of the agreement, to avoid war, because there was too much multinationalities in the same places, so you needed populations with more clear, solid nationality, one. So there are some issues there, because it's like every time a minority grows, you deport them in order for no excuse for war to exist. Like, and if there is a history of such wars, yeah, such minorities shouldn't be allowed to grow more, I guess. But what does that mean? Like, how do you, like, what's the solution? To deport them? Because on the other hand, if you don't deport them, like more extremist, I don't know if nationalistic, two nationalistic groups are going to attack this population, so then the other country attacks. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess because I think we have to find a solution that avoids war. Yeah, so yeah, I think that at first I was thinking, okay, probably the right thing to do is to send some support in Ukraine for freedom of speech and democracy, ideologically. But I wasn't expecting it to last too long, like 3 months, 6 months. At 1 year it was too much. Like, this thing needed to stop somehow. But somehow how? I don't know. I don't know if the right solution was for Russia to have kept the places. I don't know, because probably at some point, probably you need to admit that you lost. And by now, it's like, I'm hearing that USA has sent 200 billions in military equipment, or altogether, whatever, volunteers, soldiers. And it's horrible that lately Greece also has sent soldiers, and this has to stop. And Europe probably 100 billions in equipment or whatever, transportation of equipment, or I don't know, help. And at some point, probably you have to think, if 300 billions or whatever is right now are not enough to win a war, probably it's time to admit that you lost. I think it's time for an agreement. It has gone too far, and with all that what has been happening in Europe, it's like for me lately, I'm like, probably Russia was and is a better country than the supposed democratic freedom of speech European or American ones. I don't know. I don't know. And somehow, yeah, there are all these, heroic stories from history, also from Greek history, like freedom or death. But at some point, probably you have to be a little bit strategic. I mean, if everybody is dead, like, what's the point? It's such a mess. Such a mess. Such a mess. That lately, really, for me, I didn't expect to say this, but Putin seems like such a better leader. I don't know if at the end of the story, the whole point is to make sure to provide to your citizens or the populations, like in some places there are dictatorships or kingdoms like royals, but I don't know if the end goal is to provide some kind of as much as possible good life for the populations in the place that you are a leader. Because if most of people are suffering. I mean, if you have a dictatorship compared to another democracy, but for some reason there is no justice in this, not enough justice in these democracies, not enough good laws for some kind of prosperity in terms of having some safety for your house, for your electricity, for your food, and a couple of kids, It is a complicated matter, and I think that, it's like, how much more should I talk about? But it's like everybody should talk about this, because it feels like it's being created bigger and bigger and bigger mess with wars all around. Yeah, and also this Israel-Palestine thing, war should have ended already. I think it could have ended. I don't know why it keeps going that much. I don't know, it's like, I think we created alliances after the Second World War in order to avoid a new one. But if we're going to have 5 wars all around, that we keep sending equipment and soldiers, then at the end of the story there's going to be so much poverty and suffering, even at the places that are supposed alliance, that there's gonna be a civil war or something. You can't give everything until the population that is not in war is going to suffer so much from helping so many wars so far away. You're going to create so much suffering and disappointment to the supposed peaceful place that there is going to be a war at the peaceful place. So yeah, I mean, ideology and democracy and freedom of speech is good to defend, but at some point you have to be strategic and probably admit when you have lost to save what you haven't lost already. I don't know, it's a very difficult topic, but if we don't try to find some solution, and probably everybody trying to give ideas, it's going to become worse and worse and worse. Worse and worse. like more awful and more military. To a point that there is going to be so much panic everywhere and fighting that it won't be possible anymore. We won't have anymore the luxury to think for a solution, to apply a solution, to make an agreement, to make some steps back probably. I don't know if I am exaggerating, but it feels more and more like a third world war. Just because of that, because when you have too many wars around and sending help, you're going to create so much suffering to your own population that people inside there will want a civil war or something. And it has to do with poverty. It has to do. Because if you're risking all the time staying homeless, being homeless, going to prison for nonsense legal fees, being so poor that you don't have the money to defend yourself in the courts. Like, if you don't have a good enough life that you want to protect, then it doesn't matter so much if you lose your life in a military fighting. So I think there needs to be some logic applied in international affairs, some more logical rules about what do you do if you have minorities in other countries that are suffering. Do you attack the official border? Or there shouldn't be allowed minorities to grow too much in countries in order to protect peace. And I don't know if we are at the place that no logical rules can be applied. Probably there needs to be some agreement admitting that the West has lost some places just in order to save what hasn't been lost. Okay, probably I'm exaggerating a little bit, but yeah, like thinking the most horrible scenario for the future, because I'm not the only one thinking that yeah, it has gone too far. This military situation fighting all over, it has gone too far. And I didn't expect to talk about this is the truth today. But anyway, okay, probably it will be better to close it here somehow. And see you again, hopefully. Bye bye.